Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's realistic review in which we are taking a look at the American P-400 sitting at 2.3 battle rating, the forerunner of the Aero Cobras, which are very fun. P-39s and P-63s, the King Cobras, Aero Cobras, King Cobras. Nice planes as boom and zoomers, as energy fighters, but this P-400 is an early forerunner for them. And it is not quite as good in the engine power and in the performance, unfortunately. It does have a different setup when it comes to weapons as well, so we'll get into all of that. Now, the maximum speed in this plane at sea level without WEP is 480, with WEP 494 kilometers an hour. At 4,500 meters she can go up to 445 without and 452 with WEP. And finally at 6,500 meters you can take her to 383 without WEP and the same with. So the WEP starts to become less and less valuable as you go up. It doesn't really matter that much at sea level anyway. And at sea level you got to be careful because something strange happens to that WEP power. When the engine goes into the ember, the WEP starts to drop off and you start to lose speed. Even below the point where the engine was without WEP, so the 480. It only does that at sea level and the lower altitudes. When you get to 4,500 meters she already doesn't do that anymore. When the engine gets into the amber, the WEP does not just completely turns off and becomes a negative factor. So when you are in lower altitudes and your engine goes into the amber, you don't use WEP anymore because it doesn't help your plane anymore in the performance. That is something noteworthy. I'm not sure if this is a bug or if this is intended, but it is happening, so be aware of it. The top speed in a dive in this plane is 841 kilometers an hour before she redlines and 900 plus before she could potentially rip apart somewhere, but I could not personally rip it. I crashed into the ground before the plane ripped, and this was from dives at around 8k and 9k. I tried it twice. Takes a shit ton of time, by the way, to get to 9k altitude in this plane, so I was really testing my patience with that test. But anyway, 900 plus kilometers an hour, crash into the ground from both of those altitudes. There is just too much drag on this plane for the acceleration at the lower ends of the dive to keep this plane going fast enough to accelerate to a point where you actually rip it. So that's a good advantage. It's difficult to rip this plane in a dive. That's something to be aware of and something you can use. The control stiffening in this plane, there's a little tick in the compression there for the ailerons at 600 kilometers an hour. But not really. It stays pretty functional in the roll rate, although the roll rate of course is average, no more than average to start with. It's not great, but it rolls off center the faster you go. So when you go in speeds above 600 you really start to notice that she pulls the guns off the center where you're aiming, and it just rolls around that middle section, and that usually means there's something wrong with the rudder. That could be the case in this case as well. It makes it more difficult to aim in the lower ends of your dives to get the guns on target, because when you have to adjust for a move of the enemy you start to roll and you roll off center, so you pull your guns off target. So you have to be aware of that and have to be careful with rolling at the lower ends of your dive when you go into final approach on a target. If you have to roll too much you will pull her off target, and that is something you have to work with as well. You got to keep the wing steady, and just if not you just go back up and you try again. There is just that. The stall speed in this plane is also quite nice with 105 kilometers an hour. And it's actually quite decent. The firepower in the plane is very good. You run with one 20mm Hispano 404 cannon with 60 rounds for that gun. Then you have two 12.7mm M2 Browning machine gun with 270 rounds for the guns. And then again supported by four 7.62mm Browning machine guns with 1,000 rounds per gun. So the smaller caliber guns have a lot of ammo, both the 50 cals and the 30 cals. Fantastic amounts of ammo. You can really wreak havoc with those guns on soft targets if you want to go ground pounding. The plane can also be equipped with a 500-pound bomb. So if you want to go ground pounding, you can. I would use it as an air-to-air fighter, though I think it is much more suited for that. As a boom and zoomers, you can really play a dominant role on the battlefield for your team, and that can be nice. There is some downsides to it, I already mentioned too, though, and that's important. So the ammo loads are for the 20mm is below average, and for the rest is great. And the machine guns have lots of firepower, and you have lots of machine guns. So even if the 20 stops, you still have a lot of firepower. The acceleration in this plane in a straight line is decent. In a dive it's good, it needs to wind up a little bit, but once you get that speed going, it's quite nice. And then at the lower ends of the dive, it starts to really slow down that acceleration. It starts to be hampered and to a point where you barely accelerate any further. The energy retention in the horizontal is decent, and in the vertical is only average. Really, in the vertical, especially with rolling, you start to lose quite a bit of speed. So it is worse in that than the later Aero Cobras and the even later King Cobras, which are quite good as energy fighters, but this plane doesn't have the engine power to quite do that well. The climb rate in this plane is below average. You just have to side climb a little bit to get this plane in the position where you need her to fulfill this plane's potential, let's say. Turn time in the plane is also below average, not a strength. Average with flaps. Flaps rip off at around 430 kilometers an hour, which is alright at 2.3 battle rating. Nothing to complain about. The roll rate in the plane is average to start off with. As I said, with the rolling off center at high speeds is a major downside and something you definitely need to worry about, because this is a boom and zoom plane. It fits the boom and zoom roll, it doesn't fit anything else. It's not great as an energy fighter, and it is not good at all as a turn fighter. So boom and zooming it is, and she can be quite good at that. You just need to watch the rolling and the final approach on your target. You don't roll too much, because you will pull the plane's guns, you will pull it off target. So there is that. The maneuverability overall is below average. Overheating in the plane is very present with Web, and it needs a bit of management, especially at lower altitudes where the engine, the Web, can pull the plane down in speed actually, instead of adding to the speed when the engine goes amber. So there is that to keep into mind. You gotta manage it a little bit there. Durability in the plane is good. It can take quite a bit of damage. I've had quite good results with the damaged plane getting back to the airfield, and yeah, I quite like the survivability of the pilot, that's for one, with the armor protection that this plane has, but also the durability of the frame itself, which is quite good. The repair cost in this plane is 1,542 Silver Lions, which is slightly above average. There is planes that have better, 2,000, 2,500, but there's also planes with less, than 1,000, 1,100, 900 sometimes, at a 2.3 battle rating. Rewards in this plane: the research points have a 336% multiplier, and the Silver Lions have a 105% multiplier on her. The research point multiplier, whatever you want to call it, is excellent, and the Silver Lion one is decent. So this is quite a plane to earn your research points with and to run to the tree with. But the question is whether this is the best plane to use in the end, because it is a plane with a few things that really hamper its performance, and you need to take that into account. It's not as good as some of the other American planes in this rank, and rank 2, just a very strong rank for the Americans. A lot of interesting planes, like the Wildcats, like the early Lightnings, like the early Corsairs, like the early Aero Cobras, the later brothers and sisters of this plane. So there is lots to choose from, and this plane just isn't the best at its battle rating comparatively to other planes and their qualities on their battle rating. So yeah, it's something to think about, but this research point multiplier is definitely good. So when you start this plane and you want to go to the Lightnings or you want to go to the Aero Cobras, this plane definitely isn't bad to start with. And although she has the downsides and it's definitely fun to fly the later Aero Cobras, it is a plane that has its weaknesses, and you gotta work around that a little bit. Lots of firepower though, that's good. Lots of machine guns, lots of ammo on that, so you can basically shoot to your heart's content. You can basically make it to the end of the matches with this amount of ammo. The 50 cal and the 30 cal ammo is just absolutely freaking fantastic. 1000 rounds for those 4 guns in the further wing, and the 50 cals in the nose run with 270 rounds. It's just nice for 50 cals. Most Americans have about 200 rounds per gun at this early stage for the 50 cals, and if you get 200 it's good. If you if you get more than that, then you have a great amount of ammo. And of course the 50 cals have their stopping power at this battle rating as well, especially in the down tiers. Just a few of them and you just rip those biplanes apart. So it's an interesting battle rating where the P-400 sits, and it's definitely not my favorite plane of rank 2, but you can perform steady with her and get some good results with this plane. Now let's have a look at the stat card for that match. We've got quite a few rewards. We've got Final Blow, Survivor, the Best Squad, and Terror of the Sky, 27,000 Silver Lions and 12,000 research points. I'll see you in the conclusion. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. The P-400, man, it is quite a decent plane at its battle rating. It is not the best performer out there. It doesn't have the best engine power and all that jazz, but it's far from the worst as well. It doesn't really climb really nicely, so it's difficult. You need to do some side climbing as its main role. The role that it can perform is boom and zooming. You gotta take into mind that in the end of the dive you're gonna roll off center, you're gonna take those guns off the target where you're aiming, and that makes it a little bit more difficult, but if you keep the wing straight you just gotta wait for the right approach. You gotta be patient in this plane. It's not very forgiving, it's not a great energy fighter, it's not a great turner for its role, so you cannot really roll against most of the energy fighters out there. Many planes will outperform you there, so you've got to be strict in this plane. Strict boom and zooming, and use your head, use the ammo correctly, and the firepower of 7 guns, 20mm, 250 cals and 4 30 cals is good firepower. On the smaller calibers, great ammo loads. Hispano has 60 rounds. Well, we all know for 20mm early on is usually 60 rounds, so that's what it is. But all in all, good research point multiplier on this plane as well. So the speeds, it's quite a decent plane when it comes to speeds at this battle rating. Very good actually. The firepower and the research point multiplier are some of the main strengths of this plane, and that's where you got to use her. And if you use that correctly, you can definitely get some results in this plane. It's a great rank 2 for America, so it's going to be difficult to choose this plane over others for a continuing thing. But if you want to get to the Lightnings and the Aero Cobras quickly, you can have a bit of fun in the P-400. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.